before, those sub-zero temperatures were something. I brought some tools with me, but I'm guessing we might find some dead bees here and possibly some mice. I brought my hive tools. They work really good for getting everything apart. You want to scrape out any dead bees and any bird comb that might have developed. But I'm going to be going a couple towns over to pick up some bees. And I decided to go with the package bees. That way I can get started with these right now instead of waiting another month. Things are in bloom. I have got dandelions this week. The fruit trees are blooming. I've got a lane going away from the bees back to the house of Cleveland pear trees, and they're all blossoming this week. So the fruit trees are going to be taking off like crazy real quick. The trouble is, I've got all this that I need to clean up out of here. So some of this can be done here, some of it has to be done back at the house. Stick something in there and see what was going on. But see, these bees are not face down. They're not down in there like they were looking for food. And I have got pollen right in here and a little bit of honey that wasn't quite finished right around the edges. Now I can leave this in the beehive and the new bees will clean this all right up, but I want to get rid of the dead bees for them. I want all of their efforts into going in, getting their hive started, and getting this new hive going. So for me, I do all this work either in my kitchen or in the house, so I want to shake off the dead bees here if I can. And I'm using the tailgate of my SUV right now. I don't know if you saw that. I actually have some dripping honey here. And just a few dead bees. The beetles don't seem to be alive, so I don't think that they'll be an issue, but I really want to do a thorough investigation of that first. We do organic beekeeping, so I just want to make sure that there aren't other issues going on that might need a treatment. I don't use chemical treatments. We usually do essential oils. But there's plenty of pollen here. The good thing is I've got a good start for the bees that are coming in. I have got propolis, so we know that the bees were doing fine going into winter. They were able to seal the hive shut. There's always a benefit to starting out your season on brand new woodenware. Anything in the hive is called a woodenware. This is a frame, and I am using 10 frame supers. You can do an 8 frame super, and that will take off on a medium 6 pounds for each frame. So you'll be reducing it by 12 pounds, allowing you to get it to just under 50 pounds, which is still quite heavy for a lot of people. So if you see here, I've got my clusters of dead bees. There was a few in another spot. I've got some baby bees that they started to chew through and didn't finish hatching out. These are all of the nurse bees that were probably taking care of them. So if they died, they couldn't take care of the baby bees. So to get these unhatched bees out of here, there are some bees, you see just their tails are sticking up. On this side, their heads are sticking out. So those were unborn bees. I can actually just cut those out. They'll tear this apart and reconstruct it. I'm gonna help them out and cut those out for them. And if you haven't noticed, I already knew these beehives were gone, that there was nothing here. That's why I'm not wearing any protective gear today. I'm just using gloves to keep the honey and the wax off my hands. Now you can clean this wax and turn it into candle making, so it's always a good idea to save it. I just kind of dump it on the ground and collect it when I'm done. You can filter out any bee parts or impurities later. The reason you don't leave it on the ground is it will attract skunks and raccoons, and skunks will stand there and they will put their paws in and they will sit there and eat bee by bee by bee until the hive is gone. It's a real good time to take the opportunity to clean off your frame rests also, because that does get filled with propolis. Take this opportunity to do your beehive beekeeping, housekeeping pre-season. It's always a really good idea to bring like a coffee can or a mason jar for any bird home that you have to scrape off your propolis. It's still very valuable for you for candle making and soap making. And don't worry about any impurities like bee parts. After you've melted your wax, you run it through cheesecloth and it'll clean out any impurities in your wax. Also, any dark sludge kind of settles so that it's separated from the wax anyway. There's a beehive treatment called oxyolic or oxyolic acid, and it's actually found in rhubarb leaves, and that's what makes rhubarb leaves poisonous. So it apparently can be used in the beehive without hurting the bees, but it will get rid of things like varroa mites and hive beetles. And I know that there's another treatment for hive beetles too, and because I've never had a problem with it, I wasn't prepared for that. Basically, you just kind of have to do an all-around treatment in the fall to make sure that these are going to make it. And so far, all I've seen is a hive beetle, a small hive beetle population. So let's show you in the beehive here. This is the frame rest right here, and this is what I've been going along and scraping with my hive tool. This tool actually has a hooked edge, and it helps you to get in here in between the hive frames like this. My gloves are all sticky now. So you can press that down in there. See how that little notch, it hits right there, and you can lift up and it will pull them up. Sometimes, there's one of those hive beetles. See it? That's the little guy right there. So there is still a hive beetle in here. We're gonna kill him. Goodbye. So a lot of times they'll be so full of honey and capped and stuck together, you can use this end to pry them apart. It's slightly beveled on two of the edges and flat on the other. Real great to have. You just can't do beekeeping without it, and I will tell you, this is probably about $5. I know the hardware stores have similar type items for doing trim work on a home. It's always good to have the right tool for the job. So I've gone through here and cleaned all that out, and before I put the bees in here, we'll tack that back together with a new nail. Okay, so let's kind of show you the bee population. I haven't taken a whole lot of bees out of here. There was a little bit clustered between maybe 4 different frames in 2 different sections. They were actually separate from each other, and if they would have stayed together, maybe they would have made it. And they were in the outer sections. So the inner parts of the beehive did not have a lot of honey or anything left in them. They were in the second brood box. They didn't go up to their honey stores and the next one up. And this is the bulk of the bees. So it's likely the beehive that I had saw up in a tree last year could have swarmed from this in a late fall swarm because of possibly lack of room. I did notice a lot of discoloration here on the edge of the top board that could be propolis. It could have been dysentery. It's important to kind of see what is going on in the hive to know, because a weak beehive invites other problems like the hive beetle, like the varroa mites. This year there were no varroa mites in here, which is super great. So we had a break in the cycle of that, but now we need to make sure we have a break in the cycle for the hive beetles. So here are a few more of the hive beetles to show you. These little black dots here. Here's one. So there was still one living one, which means there could be hive beetle eggs in here. So always keep your books, research, and your internet handy to find out what it is that you have to do. It's always good to have any help you can in beekeeping with your resources for your bees. Your bee supplier can always be helpful in that, and that's why I always like to use local beekeepers for buying my bees instead of shipped up packages of bees, because then you can have support. And there are different beekeeping associations and beekeeper magazines that you can get information from also. So I always just say, you know, learn, read, sit down, take your time, and get to know your bees. Get to know your beehive, get to know all of the components. So here, this is an inner cover, and this is your outer cover. This is an entrance reducer right here, and that closes it down to this little 1-inch opening. I can turn it another direction and it will open it up to about 6 inches. That's always a good thing to do in the fall or with a new hive so that you can keep pests out. You don't want to invite mice in, and the hornets can get in there and steal the honey also. Possibly a swarm had come before that. The baby bees weren't hatching out because of the hive beetles. Varroa mites can actually attach themselves to the drones and get into the drone larvae, and even reduce your whole bee population before they're even hatched out. I never claim to know everything about beekeeping, but I certainly do try. This is about our 5th or 6th year into beekeeping, and I think I probably got my hands on and read everything I could for 2 years before I started out with bees. In that first year, I barely touched the beehives. I was so scared of the bees. I just wanted to have them here. I wanted to kind of grow with them and learn, and I was really lucky. These generally I've had Italian bees, and they've been very docile and easy to handle. If your bees are not being easy to handle, sometimes it can be the queen needs to be requeened, or just in general it's a bad day to do it. So watch lots of YouTube videos. I can tell you there's one channel that I watch quite a bit. It's Don the Fat Bee Man. He's an old timer. He's got lots of useful information with teaching other young beekeepers, startup beekeepers, how to manage their hives. So that's it for me today. I got to get this torn down. That guy's waiting for me to come and get my bees, and I'm still on hive number 1. So I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.